In the 8th century before Christ, out of the shadows of the Greek Dark Ages, two monumental epics emerged to reshape human history. The Iliad and the Odyssey gave birth to Western literature. They forged the gods of Olympus, codified the heroic code, and provided the moral compass for Alexander the Great, the Roman Empire, and every storyteller who followed. At the center of this cultural revolution stands a single, towering name, Homer. Tradition painted him as a blind sage, a divine bard wandering the rocky coastlines of Ionia, singing of the rage of Achilles and the endless wanderings of Odysseus. For over 2 millennia, his existence was taken as absolute truth. Yet behind the majestic bronze busts and sacred reverence lies a terrifying reality. There is not a single contemporary record, not a single signed tablet, nor a shred of direct historical evidence that Homer ever drew breath. The father of Western literature may be nothing more than a myth. To understand the mystery of Homer, one must journey back to the cataclysm that birthed his world. Around 1200 BC, the brilliant Mycenaean civilization collapsed in fire and blood. Great palaces like Mycenae and Pylos were reduced to ash, and with their fall, the art of writing, recorded on linear B clay tablets, vanished from the Greek world for 4 centuries. Greece plunged into an era of illiteracy, poverty, and isolation known as the Dark Ages. Yet human memory refused to die. In dark halls and around village fires, illiterate singers preserved the lingering echoes of a lost golden age. They sang of golden chariots, massive bronze shields, and divine kings who warred across the sea. By 750 BC, as Greece slowly reawakened and colonized the shores of Asia Minor, these scattered oral tales coalesced into a masterwork. But could a single human mind retain 16,000 lines of verse without writing down a single word? For centuries, scholars insisted that the complex, mathematically precise poetry of the Iliad was far too intricate to be created without pen and paper. Then, in the 1930s, a young Harvard academic named Milman Parry made a revolutionary discovery. Traveling to the remote mountains of the Balkans, Parry recorded illiterate Slavic bards who could improvise epic songs thousands of lines long in real time. They did not memorize scripts, they used a system of formulaic building blocks. Phrases like his swift-footed Achilles, the wine-dark sea, and rosy-fingered dawn were not mere poetic flourishes, they were metrical tools that allowed a singer to construct perfect hexameter verse on the fly. Parry proved that Homer's epics were born from an ancient oral tradition stretching back generations. Homer was not a reader sitting in a quiet study with a quill, but a master performer singing to a spellbound audience in real time. For 2,000 years, historians dismissed the Trojan War as pure fantasy, a fairy tale of gods, golden apples, and monstrous deception. But in 1870, a ruthless German businessman and amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann set out to prove the academic world wrong. Armed with nothing but a copy of the Iliad and an obsession, Schliemann began digging at the mound of Hisarlik in modern-day Turkey. What he found shocked the globe. Beneath layers of soil lay the burnt remnants of a mighty fortress city matching Homer's description of Troy. Months later at Mycenae, Schliemann unearthed shaft graves filled with golden masks, bronze swords, and royal jewelry. Though Schliemann misdated his finds by centuries, he shattered the consensus. Homer's poems were not pure fiction, they were anchored in the real, bloody reality of a lost Bronze Age world. By the late 18th century, the rediscovery of Homer sparked a violent intellectual war known as the Homeric Question. In 1795, German philologist Friedrich August Wolff published a bombshell text, Prolegomena ad Homeram. Wolff argued that because writing did not exist in 8th century Greece, Homer could not possibly have written both massive epics alone. Academia split into 2 warring camps. The analysts declaimed the poems were a patchwork quilt, a stitching together of dozens of short ballads by different anonymous bards across centuries. The Unitarians fought back fiercely, arguing that the intricate structural symmetry, tragic depth, and consistent character arcs of the Iliad proved the presence of a single, brilliant artistic genius. Was Homer a real human author, or was he merely a brand name, a convenient shorthand for the collective memory of an entire civilization? Around 750 BC, a seismic technological breakthrough changed human history forever. Greek traders operating in the eastern Mediterranean encountered the Phoenician writing system. The Greeks took this consonantal script and made a genius modification. They added dedicated characters for vowels. For the very first time in human existence, a writing system could capture the exact cadence, pitch, and meter of the human voice. Many scholars now believe the Greek alphabet was invented for one specific purpose: to write down the songs of Homer. When those spoken words were chiseled into stone and inked onto imported Egyptian papyrus, oral tradition froze into eternal literature. Homer was transformed from a fleeting whisper in a smoke-filled room into an unshakable monument of human thought. If a single person did compose these masterpieces, a staggering problem remains: the Iliad and the Odyssey are fundamentally different worlds. The Iliad is a tragic, claustrophobic masterpiece of blood, honor, and death, set entirely on a dusty plain outside Troy over a few brutal days. Its characters are aristocratic, uncompromising, and consumed by divine fate. The Odyssey, by contrast, is a wide-ranging, whimsical, and psychological adventure novel filled with monsters, cunning deceit, and domestic longing. Stylistic analysis reveals distinct differences in vocabulary, theology, and moral worldview. Did the same poet write the Iliad in the fiery passion of his youth, and the Odyssey as an old man in the winter of his life? Or are we looking at the work of two entirely different literary giants separated by generations? In the final analysis, the mystery of Homer may be his greatest legacy. Whether he was a single historic genius who unified centuries of song, a female poet writing in secret, or the personification of an entire culture's collective memory, Homer achieved something no empire ever could. He captured the human condition in all its glory and horror. He showed us that even in the midst of unspeakable tragedy, human beings possess a terrifying, beautiful majesty. Alexander the Great slept with the Iliad beneath his pillow. Roman poets reshaped it to build an empire. Today, 3,000 years later, we still read his words and see ourselves reflected in the pride of Achilles and the resilience of Odysseus. Homer may be a ghost, but his voice is the longest echo in human history.